Keep Florida Fishing are excited to have our very first Icast Candidates Forum, and we're hosting it because it's important for our industry to continuously engage with lawmakers who are faced with making decisions every day that affect our industry, fisheries, anglers, and our collective ability to have clean waters, abundant fisheries, and access to both. We want to make sure that we're communicating with them so that they fully understand the issues that affect access to recreational fishing and its related industries. As the fishing capital of the world, Florida is an integral part of the sport fishing industry. This year's Icast event in Orlando was a very timely opportunity to invite two candidates for one of Florida's Senate seats and give them the opportunity to talk with us and share their perspective on how they will work with us to ensure we keep Florida fishing for generations to come. Before we get started, I wanted to take a moment to recognize our sponsors, without whom this event would not have been possible. Thank you to Yamaha and Boat US, Coastal Conservation Association of Florida, Capital Advocates, and Jones Walker Law Firm. We are honored to have Florida's current governor joining us this morning. Governor Rick Scott is in his second term and has served as Florida's governor since 2011. He is currently a candidate for the U.S. Senate in 2018. So, I believe he's in the room. Is he in the room? Good morning. Do we have a mic for him? Somewhere? There we go. We didn't tell you this was karaoke today. That's awesome. Well, Governor, we really appreciate you being with us this morning. I know you've got a very busy schedule today and have been really busy this week. Is it working? Are we on?
Testing.
There we go. All right. So I wanted to get us started just kind of talking generally about your perspective on kind of what the greatest conservation and environmental issue facing the state of Florida right now, and kind of what your involvement's been in that. I think we probably all can guess what your answer is going to be, but love to hear your conversation.
Reality is it's all tied to if we can continue the jobs market, because if you look at what we've accomplished over the last 7.5 years, it's all tied to the fact that we have more money. Our revenues at the state, because we've added 1.5 million jobs, we have probably 400,000 people moved here last year, and we've taken the tourism numbers from about 80 million tourists to this year we'll have between 122 and 125 million. Our revenues are up $20 billion annualized. What that's allowed us to do is actually do some things actually the feds should be doing. So first off, what we are doing right now is one thing. If you take sort of the I-4 corridor north, we have 900 freshwater springs. We've invested more money than anybody's invested in the history of the state. I think in our springs, $365 million, and I think we have another $50 million we've gotten through partnerships with local and federal and other groups. So we're investing $435 million, I think it is right now, just improving these 900 freshwater springs. And we have, thanks to there's I know Jason's here and some others, Mike are here, but the legislature. Our legislature over the last 8 years has been a real partner in making sure we do some things. Like we have a 10-year commitment to work on our springs. It's $50 million. I think last year the number was $65 million out of the state budget. But that's one thing we've been able to do. The other is Lake Okeechobee, where we've been fighting to get the feds to do their job. This is a federal project. It's a federal project, a federal project, a federal project. We have no control over this. We have no control over discharge. We have no control over what they do at all. We work with them, with the South Florida Water Management District, but they decide based on their formulas how much water is coming out. But the Florida legislature has been very supportive. We put up $50 million 2 years in a row to accelerate the dike. Once President Trump got elected, I sat down with him, and he committed that they would fund their portion, the rest of it. And finally, this last week, it's all come out that we have now all the funding, or the dike will be done by 2022. So that's a big deal. That will allow us to hold more water, so we'll get fewer discharges. But we've got a lot of other things, and everything we're doing. Just anybody that knows about the way we work here, we have to work together with the legislature, because they actually I can propose anything I want. They got to pass it. But fortunately, we have a very supportive legislature, and we've invested $1.8 billion in Everglades restoration in the last 8 sessions. We're doing storm treatment areas. And by the way, we just got EAA reservoir approved, so that's going to move forward. It's on an accelerated basis, which is going to store water south of the lake, but we've got storage east and west of the lake. So we've got all sorts of things going. We've raised up the Tammany Trail. We're trying to get water south. So whether it's, the people you really have to admire, they've gotten a lot of things done. The legislature's been a partner. Herschel Vineyard and Woodburn and now Noah Valenstein have done a really good job at DEP. Our water management district has been a good partner. So the truth is all these people are working together, and finally now the feds have become a partner, which if that continues, then we're going to get a lot of good things done. But those are probably the big things. But then on top of that, if you fish in the Keys, if the waters, if you talk to anybody down there, I think they'll all tell you that I don't know if Robert Spotswood is here, but I think he was here. He's on the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. But again, we've invested, I think it's over $150 million in the last 7 years down there, and we've moved a lot of these, gotten rid of a lot of the septic, so we've cleaned up a lot of the water down there. So we've trying to think we've gotten a lot of good things done. We also have, I walked in, and you'd love this. I walk in, I don't know any. As you all know, I ran for governor to turn jobs around. I didn't know about a lot of these issues. I didn't know there were 2 federal lawsuits, 4 federal agencies had to negotiate with to get a settlement on water quality, and they wouldn't meet with each other. So that makes it easy to settle. But we got, I negotiated a deal where we got an $880 million commitment to water quality around the Everglades. It's over a 12-year period of time. The legislature was very supportive, and so we're now probably in our 5th or 6th year, and we've got very high standards, and so the water quality, we're doing this. This state's on a roll. I don't know any other state, but of course we're the best at dealing with this. But it's all tied. It's 100% tied to the fact we have a good economy and we have the money. We are running. Our revenues are growing probably by over, including our general revenue and our trust funds, over $2 billion increase a year. So add 8 to 10 more million tourists a year, sell a lot of homes, get a bunch of people move down here, give all jobs, your revenues go up.
Well, great. Well, we really appreciate all of your efforts on water quality throughout the state and on Everglades restoration. Certainly recognize
we're the best fishing place in the world.
It absolutely is.
There's more Bass Pro Shops here than any place in the world, right?
Yeah.
So we must be doing something right.
Absolutely. Well, so kind of then turning more to fisheries management issues. There's state-managed waters that we have some species managed, and then we also
turn
have...
all over to us and we'll do a better job.
And then there's a federal component, and I know that your administration's been very involved in particularly the federal Gulf red snapper season the last couple of years. We're also finally looking at least a small season on the Atlantic side, but also trying to look at some changes at how the federal government manages those fisheries. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, my belief is that we ought to drive as many decisions almost in everything to the local level as you can. There's certain things that the state has to do versus locals, but there's certain things the state ought to be doing rather than federal government. And I think with regard to caring about our environment, I can't imagine the federal government cares more than people that all of us get elected right here in our state, and we're sitting here constantly dealing with the state issues. So I think the same thing with fisheries. We ought to try to drive as many decisions down to the state level as we can. Our legislature cares. We have a good Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission that cares. I know there's a lot of people involved in the foundation, and they care. So, this is a state that is really focused on making sure we take care of our fisheries. And I know there's, I'm a recreational fisherman. I'm trying to get my 6 grandsons all fishing all the time. They think they should just catch as soon as they put it in water. I thought it's fishing. But I know you have to work with both the commercial and the recreational. But we want to take care of our fisheries, but we want people to use them.
Absolutely.
And I think we have, and my experience in the last 7.5 years, I think the people that I've had the opportunity to put on the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, we've got them from all over the states. We've got a good representation. I think Nick did a really good job, and Eric, I don't know if Eric's here, but I think Eric's also done a really good job.
Yeah, we very much appreciated our partnership, and that's pretty much how we view it with FWC. So they've been excellent in working with us to maximize opportunities.
They taught me a lot.
Yes, they're very good at that. One of the other big issues for our industry that's come up in the last couple of years, kind of as a high priority, is coral health. We're having a pretty significant disease outbreak off the southeast coast of Florida. It's gone as far north as St. Lucie, and now we're seeing it down south in the Keys. The legislature really was helpful this year, and appreciate you signing that budget that allowed some additional appropriations. But what is your understanding of that issue, and what else can we do?
I think the legislature's been very supportive with regard to taking care of what we have and then trying to grow it. I was down at Moat Marine. They're doing some things, and they were going through I was down there a month or 2 months ago. They're going through some of what they're doing, and I think that we have issues, but I think people are optimistic that we're going to be able to solve it.
I agree. Moat's doing some really good stuff, as is FWC, to kind of look at ways that we can make our reefs more resilient, and so when we have these types of episodes, we can make a quicker recovery. So that's
they can fix greening also for citrus.
Yes.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Boating and fishing access in the state obviously is really important to our industry, because if you can't get to it, or you don't have a season, if an area is closed, we obviously will have some impacts to our industry from that. One of the things that we have tried to look at is ways to balance, those times when there might be a scientific reason to close areas. But overall, our proposal is that we try to maximize opportunities, and that those closures only happen as a last result. So I don't know if you're familiar with Biscayne National Park and their general management plan, and Everglades National Park and their plan. I know the sanctuary is getting ready to come out with their plan, and just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I think people ought to have as much access as they can. We've got to take care of our entire our environment, but we've got to give people access. And so, but I think it all comes down to, we have resources if we create a great economy, and then we've got to allocate those resources well. And I tell everybody, you need to be in Tallahassee for state resources. You can't. You've got to lobby the legislature. You've got to be there. You've got to explain the value of it, because they drive the budget. I can propose budgets, and so anything that you care about, that you want to improve, you've got to be active.
Yeah,
You have to be there.
absolutely.
And you got to do it all the time. And you can't just do it the last week of session.
Well, a lot gets done the last week of session, but I agree.
Yeah. It actually was in the process for a few weeks before, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been my experience, at least.
One of your other comments that you mentioned about being able to, for your kids to be able to go out and catch fish, and that they like to have that immediate feedback. We actually have a major push for our 60 and 60 campaign, which is to increase the number of anglers nationwide for 60 million within 60 months. And Florida has been a big part of that campaign through trying to recruit new anglers, retain active anglers, and reactivate those who may not have a license. I know FWC's been very involved in that. I just wanted to get your thoughts on how we can better improve angler participation, and how we can partner with state and federal government in that.
I think we talked to all the kids.
I agree.
My grandsons like to fish. Of course, they like to just catch them immediately. But I think we got to get kids outdoors. So I don't get home a lot on the weekends right now, so I'm campaigning. But before the campaign, I would get home on the weekends, and I try to get them out. We would go to parks, and we would go fishing. We go out, other than Naples, and so it was pretty easy. You could go towards Marco, so it was never even rough for them. And not only did you catch fish, but you often saw manatee and saw dolphin and everything. So they had a ball. But I think we all got to get our kids out there.
Yeah.
And so, and if you get them started early, they're going to keep enjoying it.
Agreed. Well, I know you have a tight timeline today, but I wanted to see if you had any parting, closing words that you wanted to share with the group before. I know you have to get on the road to make some other.
So I am a candidate for Senate. You can't run for Senate this time because the time's passed, but and you can't run for governor right now because time's passed. But you should run for office. It's a great experience, and you do learn a lot, and you are able to help a lot of people. My my oldest grandson's 6, and so I talk to him the most. And he asked me the other day, "How do you win elections?" I said, "You get one more vote than the other guy." so I hope everybody will go out there and make sure you vote and make sure you campaign. We've already knocked on right at 600,000 doors. But I think everybody that's if everybody's running for office, would just stand up for a second. Yeah. Okay, every one of these individuals needs volunteers. I'd like all the volunteers, but the reality is we all need volunteers, and we all need supporters, and we all need, if you have, I tell people this all the time, we have to put more time into government. If you want good government, you've got to support people, and whether your issue is the school board, whether your issue is a state issue or a federal issue, you've got to get involved in these elections, because somebody's going to win. And if the wrong person wins that doesn't care about your issue, then you're going to have 2, 4, 6 years that you've got representation that doesn't care about what you care about. And so I hope everybody will put more time into this election cycle. It's not just about money, because it's what I told my grandson, it's about votes. And so probably the biggest thing you actually do is you get to talk to your friends and neighbors about voting and helping these individuals, including me, get my message out. So we've had a good 7.5 years in this state, and we've made a lot of progress. I think it started all because we have a good economy. So we can do the same thing federally, and we can do the same thing locally. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm glad that Icast is here. Don't go anyplace else. All the best fishing's in Florida. The best everything's in Florida.
We're committed for many years to come. We very much appreciate your hospitality and you being with us today.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.